Well, up to personal vlog number 90 here, and I would, cleverly fit it in. We'll talk about. Let's talk about pop culture that I remember from the 1990s for personal vlog number 90 here. Definitely, when we start looking back at pop culture from the 1990s, that's gonna be almost 30 years ago when you think about it here. Now that we're starting in the 2020s here, but I definitely remember lots of pop culture from the 1990s there, given when I was in my childhood, my early childhood in the 1980s there, and then going into the 1990s there, it was in the late childhood, preteen, and then the teenager years before I started adulthood in the next decade there. So definitely was really immersed in pop culture here, and definitely there's lots of things that you could say have nostalgia and definitely remember from the 1990s there. I mean, you could probably start with music there. I mean, I would say in the 1990s there, I would say is definitely the golden age when it comes to electronic and dance music here. I would say that's the golden age of it, and definitely grew up with that, especially with Europop as well, with the Euro electronic music there. I mean, artists that me to come to mind like Real McCoy and Two Unlimited there. Those are definitely were the big ones there. That's definitely another music there that you have to say also inspired in our genre was definitely the grunge music, which is kind of a mix of rock and alternative there, where people looked unkempt. And then I know Nirvana definitely was the, you can say, was the standard that set for the grunge music there. We also got Pearl Jam there. I also did like a little bit of Red Hot Chili Peppers there too. But those are definitely the big music that I remember from the 1990s there. But I would say definitely the golden age of dance electronic music there, and then still with some of the hip hop from the early 1990s as well. There definitely had a much different flavor than we have hip hop today here. As definitely music genres definitely got a lot more complex here. And then I mean, although I say he had a lot of his heyday in the 1980s here, but one of my favorite musical artists growing up here was definitely Michael Jackson there. He was still on the peak of that in the early 1990s there, and remember his Dangerous album there, and then definitely the Off the Wall. Off the Wall was his first one of his solo there, but then you got Dangerous there for sure was one of his best album there, and then he had the History album there where he has a duet with Janet Jackson there, and then I guess you go towards the late 1990s there. That's definitely where you had the Spice Girls and the boy bands there, and then you could say one of my celebrity crushes for artists on the female side was definitely Christina Aguilera. I definitely had a crush on her, and man, she's definitely smoking, and definitely was smoking there when I was in high school there. It was Christina or Britney there, and then all the girls crying that were in my demographics for all the boy bands with NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and all that. So yeah, there's definitely lots of music there. So you could probably say the golden age of the old school hip hop, or towards the end of that, and electronic music, grunge music there, and then the girl band, girl artists and boy bands there. And I know that there was also some other funny pop culture there. Everyone was all big on computers are definitely starting to become more accessible there. So definitely everyone was excited about Windows 95 and Windows 98, and then Apple there. And now towards the end of the 1990s there was the eMac. Remember that? The sorry no beige and different colors there, where Apple's definitely very revolutionary there. I know that it was our first computer, or almost an eMac there. Definitely was different there. I know Windows, I'm some more on the Windows guy or PC guy, because everything they used in school there, I mean, other than the Apple IIe, but it seemed like it wasn't as superior as all the Windows. And back then, that was when Apple was still even more stubborn and everything was on their, products. They only worked with their own products there, and then cost a lot more there. But just the computer. Then of course, the internet, the early internet with AOL and dial-up there. That's definitely one of the other pop culture there. And then when it comes to food there, I mean, there was definitely different radical, you know, various foods here. Some that failed or was a hit here. I know that McDonald's there. I mean, a couple of brands from the '90s that kind of flopped was the Arch Deluxe. But I actually remember McDonald's pizza, and I actually liked it, but I know it took too long. It was pretty good pizza for McDonald's at the time there, but remember that from 30 years ago. And of course, one ultimately, food brand that definitely took over was in Taco Bell. Your career with Taco Bell. Remember that Chihuahua? Yeah, that was funny. You saw that Chihuahua everywhere in the 1990s there. And as they say, Yo Quiero Taco Bell. Or I remember I had a t-shirt that it's a Yo Quiero Cerveza. I don't want no stinky tacos. And he had a Chihuahua there. I think my grandparents gave me that when I went to Mexico there. It was definitely funny that it was an adult friendly of that Mexican Chihuahua there. And I know that that was definitely one of the huge pop culture there, and the rise of that. And then there was many sitcoms that still was pretty good in the 1990s. You could probably say that was probably the last golden age of family sitcoms there. I mean, you had Full House, and then you had Seinfeld and Friends there, and then you had some more teen, obviously teen television with MTV. And I know that they spotlighted issues that teens encounter. I mean, you had the Beverly Hills 90210 and Saved by the Bell, and then there actually was the Canadian version of that as well here. But how people were consuming television was definitely, I think that was at the last of the peak there with television, sitcoms there. And then now we have various other ways to consume media here. You have less sitcoms here, and then of course the earlier part of the decade you still had Fresh Prince of Bel Air, and I remember TGIF on ABC there. I know we had that up in Canada, where you had Family Matters. And then also I remember when Jurassic Park took over there was that dinosaur craze there, and there was the dinosaur show there. And yeah, that's definitely a lot of pop culture there too. It spawned those other crazes there. And then being a gamer here, I mean, definitely I remember the 16-bit wars with Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo there, and eventually got into the PlayStation, and then Nintendo 64 there. But that's when I definitely had a lot more time to play video games there. And my earlier personal vlogs, I did my gaming memories there, so that was definitely the peak of the gaming there when I had the time to do it in the 1990s there, which is something I still feel that gaming then, I feel is still a lot better than it is today. It's a lot simpler, a lot more challenging too at the same time. But yeah, it's just games today. I mean, yeah, there's a lot more variety and a lot more intuitive and complexities and to it there. But it's just as you get older, you just have less time for it, and you only got so much money to spend there. But yeah, I remember those video games, and also the fact that I mean, I'd have to say the 16-bit wars, and it was just the bits. That was definitely the war on the bits and bytes there for video games there. And then also the fact that other pop culture, I remember with fashion, people were in flannel, and I forget the style of jeans. I know there's a particular type of baggy jeans there, but definitely you saw more streetwear there. And then of course other clothing that I remember, remember these tie-dye t-shirts, and I remember Chip and Pepper. Remember those bulldogs with the glasses there. I remember those brands there. It was definitely a period where everyone kept saying radical and rad there. And then it was also the last part of Saturday morning cartoons. That was definitely the last part of the 1990s as well there. I mean, it's definitely, that concept is definitely foreign now with Saturday morning cartoons. Now everyone all scattered busier, and the fact that now you can watch more things on demand there. I mean, there was still a time when that wasn't possible. that's why you go to places like video stores. I mean, it was definitely the height of the video stores where you had to wait till a movie goes out, and if you want to watch it, if you didn't watch it in theaters, you have to go to this place called a video store, like Blockbuster or Rogers Video or other mom and pop shops there. And then you're bummed when your movie isn't there. They're still on VHS or DVD there, and eventually DVD was towards the end of the 1990s there, and got more affordable there. But now you're not bummed. Now we're more bummed about that movie is not available on your particular choice of streaming service there. So that's definitely another culture, pop culture, that I definitely remember from the 1990s there. And then, I mean, sports definitely, it was partly, I would say, the golden age and crazy age too. I mean, extreme sports definitely came in the rage there. I mean, remember, some of them have become Olympic events there. I mean, you got skateboarding, snowboarding there, and then inline skating there. And, remember, yes, the inline skating craze there. I mean, I think definitely got popularized when hockey, got bigger in California there. And, the NHL, I mean, after when Los Angeles Kings were already an established team there and got Wayne Gretzky there, and eventually, had a team in Anaheim and, San Jose, and then you had the teams in Florida there. That's where it definitely expanded out and more extreme sports here. And definitely, if you look at remember the Calgary series, I talked about when we had the Calgary Rads there, but then the golden age was definitely, the Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan there, and then, you had the early part of the Dallas Cowboys with Troy Aikman, and also the fact that the San Francisco 49ers, I mean, they still had Steve Young there after Joe Montana there, and then locally here, Calgary with Doug Flutie. Oh, those are the days there, and, then you had Mario and Gretzky battling at the same time. You could say he was definitely blessed that I was a hockey fan during that time when those two players were dominant in the league there, and then, probably saw the best goaltenders too in the 1990s, Patrick Waugh, and you also got Dominic Hasek and then Martin Brodeur there. I mean, that was all almost in that same era there. And of course, I also, a few months ago, especially, during the global pandemic, and haircuts weren't, salons were open there, and I had longer hair there. It got a flashback to why I don't have my hair longer anymore there, but definitely people had longer hair, especially guys. That's definitely another pop culture I remember there, and I would say the hockey player that had the best mullet of all time, especially during his heyday in the 1990s, was Jaromir Jagr there. I mean, Patrick Kane kind of is today, but it's a light version of Jaromir Jagr, and that's saying a lot there. And, of course, I also briefly remember some toys there. I mean, Pogs, remember when we flipped Pogs and Slammers there? That kind of just had a brief, quick comeback there, and then a lot of their crazy toys. Well, I remember when the Tamagotchis, or remember when you had to add a Tickle Me Elmo or Furby. It's like that suddenly toy that suddenly, kids want. And then the problem is, even then, in the 1990s, I mean, you have a problem with people, panic buying stuff and then trying to sell it for a higher price there. People used to do that back in the 1990s too, where, let's say, a Furby or a Tickle Me Elmo, knowing that everyone wants it, and someone with a lot of money goes buys it all and then stores it in the garage, and then try to yourself for even higher price, knowing that the market is there. And yeah, that happened then too. Even now, it's easier with online with when something is a short commodity, either because of a crisis or just demand, where you didn't realize people suddenly want that. And I know Pokemon was definitely also big, and same with Beanie Babies too. It's like, you just gotta wonder how these certainly spur up here, and everyone just has to have it there. And then of course the funny part is, after when the craze is over, then you have to have a lot of copycat products there. I mean, I remember going back to the Tickle Me Elmo there. I just remember having smaller, cheaper versions with the other Sesame Street characters there. And I mean, the one toy I still remember that I find it funny because it's laughing is, they had that small Cookie Monster, and you press that and it's like he's laughing, and it's just funny too. all these knockoff toys, and that definitely come out here. And like I say, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I mean, definitely the cartoon and the movies there, where people said radical cowabunga dudes and all that. I mean, it's definitely lots of pop culture. I definitely remember in the 1990s that stuff nostalgia for, look back on and kind of laugh, and other fashion trends here. But I'm realizing that's almost 30 years ago, depending on where you pin yourself in the 1990s there. I mean, there's still stuff I still enjoy here. I mean, especially, let's say, the electronic music there. And there was one, I think it was Culture Beat by Mr. Bean, that I just made a comment that said the 1990s, that was the golden age of dance electronic music. And I still get comments in there. Most people agree, and some disagree, but I still definitely enjoy listening to 1990s dance music here, and nostalgia for some sports in the 1990s here. And of course, I had to wear my Calgary Flames pedestal jerseys. This definitely says no in some 1990s, and got rid of the blocky numbers and letters. I mean, that's how I broke down when I did my Calgary Flame jersey rankings here. But this was kind of cool and different at the time here. But then, as you know, if you follow me, I was a Calgary Flames fan, that I longed to have those retro jerseys back full time, because those are damn good jerseys that they first came out with, that we removed ourselves from, and I want them back. And there's definitely a few other things that I definitely would like back from the 1990s that I don't think we'll ever get back here, or maybe some things could get researched maybe when I get older, but then who knows, it'll be a different generation enjoy it, and then I'll probably say that's not how you enjoy it. But I mean, some argue that some of the culture from the 1990s still was on up until year 2000, and some say that after 9/11, that's when you could really say the 1990s ended there. And I definitely would like one def part I liked back in the 1990s, when economy was a lot more optimistic, especially towards the later part of the 1990s, and definitely wouldn't mind those days back, but I'm still waiting for that. But what do you take and remember from pop culture in the 1990s there? And there's definitely some things that you think I was fortunate enough to enjoy. There's definitely some other things you want to forget here, but to say, ultimately, what do you like from the 1990s here? And based on demographics that watch my content here, there might be some that might be a little too young, or maybe not even around yet, hear about all this stuff that we did enjoy or didn't enjoy, or look back and say, really? And then there's a big portion that's kind of in my demographics that would be on the line with me here. But it was kind of like the last generation before smartphones and the internet took off here. And heck, I mean, remember, cellular telephones were still considered, it was a novelty, and now it's a necessity here, because more people now are starting to have mobile devices as opposed to a landline here. And texting back then was paging someone to say go page and then go call, and that was back when you had this thing called payphones, where it was a public phone and you had to go to and pay to make that call. Oh, those were the times there. So anyway, if you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fan's journey, home of the Flames, hitting Roughnecks, Stampeders, I mostly talk Calgary sports, and now with hockey coming back here, and I'm just kind of waiting for the play-in series and the round robin to finish here to know who exactly the Calgary Flames will play in the first round. So I kind of squeeze this video in between here. But personal logs is also one of the secondary things I do, just to fill out other content on my channel, and also do some attempt at comedy after I do personal logs. And I share my shirts I'm on the road to Aspen Bear, so that all sounds like it'd be interesting to watch, to follow along with this Calgary sports fan's journey. You know what you do, just make sure you like, subscribe, and let's drink some clear Pepsi and some Orbits, or those other products too from the 1990s, or other sour candy or novelty cereals that you don't see as much now, and when people were less carefree about diets and specific diets there. And I also have my other social media links down in the description below there. So that's all I put on my channel here, and definitely, there's many things to remember from the 1990s. But as I'll say here, I'll see you in the next video here, and probably it's going to be some more sports content. We're like previewing the first round for the Calgary Flames, where we're happy to play here, and definitely draft lottery. It might be a player that could be drafted that we'll look on many years from now, and if we ever get nostalgia for the 2020s here, I mean, definitely so far that decade has sucked, but we're still early in it. But hopefully maybe it'll eventually get better, or I'm still waiting for that since the 1990s, it seems like. But I'll see you in the next video.